Clever, witty, a pioneer, a shock humorous comedian, and an independent creator. Now, these are the characteristics that once best represents Justin Roiland. But unfortunately, due to his very notorious past, he was known for other things that would have made him considered a creep, a person that should have been axed from the animation industry a long time ago. What I mean by that is, if you haven't watched my previous videos on Justin Roiland, you would be surprised on how he was even able to voice act up until this point. And I'm talking about the recent season of Rick and Morty. Not the one that just came out, but prior to the 8th season. Anyways, unfortunately, Justin Roiland was known for being inappropriate with other staff members while he was working at the Adult Swim and while he was voice acting Rick and Morty. So yeah, that was it was very disgusting behaviors, and also the fact that he translated these behaviors onto Twitter, where he allegedly spoke with minors and fans of the Rick and Morty series. And even though he was considered to be a co-creator of the show, his endeavors are what made him blacklisted into the animation industry. This would be one of the downfalls of Justin Roiland, and many more. Of course, there were the alleged spouse abuse that happened and was put into trial, but of course he ended up not being guilty. All the charges were dropped, and from there Justin Roiland would continue on being a free man, free from doing all these heinous things, and unfortunately no one could do anything about it but drop him from the Adult Swim era, from the Adult Swim scene itself. And yeah, it was just bad. A guy who basically did whatever he wanted, got drunk while working and voice acting, and even though his character was supposed to be spot on with being drunk, there was unfortunately too much realism when it came to creating a toxic character like Rick, and that came with it. Talk about doing just method acting and putting it out there in the real world. It's kind of uncontrolled behavior, if anything. Now, before Rick and Morty became a billion-dollar cultural juggernaut, the mind of Justin Roiland was a chaotic digital playground of anti-comedy and internet infamy. From the illegal battlefields of House Cosbys to the dark psychological trauma of Mr. Sprinkles, Roiland spent over a decade honing a style that was often too weird and sometimes too repulsive for the mainstream. Today we're peeling back the layers of the Roiland TV era to look at the experimental, unfiltered, and often forgotten works that paved the way for the most successful animated sitcom of the 21st century, Rick and Morty. Now, before we deep dive into this, we're going to be talking about 3 projects. These 3 projects could be accessed on the Internet Archive. You could take the time out of your day to go look at these videos. I'm going to be playing small clips so that way I don't get demonetized or flagged for posting disgusting content that is from Justin Roiland's past. So, what I'm going to be doing is deep diving into what made Justin Roiland the guy he is back then, okay? Because Justin Roiland, nowadays, he's history. So why not deep dive into his history? I guess we could call it that. So, whatever you're doing, I hope you're not eating. Actually, I'm not going to even show the whole videos, but the entire videos. But I'm going to be showing a lot of very exploitive crap that happened in the past of Justin Roiland's creation. So, anyways, get ready. Let's buckle down. Let's do a deep review. Okay, we're gonna start off with Mr. Sprinkles. Mr. Sprinkles was a sketch show in 2007 that was created for Acceptable.tv. It was executively produced by Jack Black and created by Dan Harmon. The show operated on a survival of the fittest voting system, and Mr. Sprinkles was so popular that it ended up having 8 episodes for one single season. This show was a dark psychological parody of Cat in the Hat. Mr. Sprinkles is an imaginary cat character. He has some character traits that best resembles Cat in the Hat, but in Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon's perspective. He helps children, but during his interventions, he usually leads to death or an existential horror or severe trauma, especially in that one episode where he tries to fix a messy room by killing a child's parents and cleaning up the blood. Then afterwards, he would use like some monsters from his bag, just like Thing 1 and Thing 2, but more horrific looking, and it would scare the child as well. The child was like basically watching YouTube, old school YouTube if anything, and yeah, that would be the scary part of this entire show. But however, you could hear some voice acting that was done by Justin Roiland that you could probably hear from, other characters that were, probably in development. If anything, you could hear Lemon Grab from Penny, the child. This was a vocal predecessor to Morty Smith. You could probably hear Morty Smith in Penny, the character in Mr. Sprinkles. And Mr. Sprinkles himself, a high-pitched stuttering delivery that Roiland would use later for Lemon Grab in Adventure Time. There were also some parts that were later going to be picked up from this series that was going to be put into Rick and Morty, like the solo vanity card productions. You see it at every end of every Rick and Morty episode, so if you ever see solo vanity productions, it was picked off from the Mr. Sprinkles series. And the narrative style, if anything, it was pretty much the Saturday morning cartoon trope and smashing into brutality, realistic, often depressing reality. And it could be one of the reasons why Justin Roiland is considered a pioneer when it comes to creating dark humor. If anything, he could be compared to, I would say, Matt Stone and Trey Parker with South Park and their dark humor. Yeah, so that was Mr. Sprinkles. And up next, we're going to be talking about The Unbelievable Tales that was published in 2012. Yeah, this was an animation hybrid pilot submitted to Channel 101 right before Rick and Morty was greenlit. It features Roiland in person as the host, Crumply. Crumply is a deranged, sweaty children's show host who lives in a creepy house, and the video was intentionally to be anti-comedy, and it was meant to be repulsive and difficult to watch. Yeah, so to give you some context, the show has this character that looks familiar, and of course, if you could pick it off of the prior seasons to Rick and Morty, King Jellybean, you would know that this character, this disgusting, depraved character, was known for doing some pretty gross things to children. And of course, in this particular show, this pilot, there would be things he would have done to Morty, but ended up doing to the 2 kids he kept captive into his own house. Then there was another pitch about 2 kids who went to the ocean, and you see a lot of really weird and exploitive shit. And of course, there were a lot of disgusting shit that followed through with that. The 2 kids that were out in the sea ended up dying. One of them ended up dying, and one just went back home. Yeah, I don't want to say a lot, but it is a lot. So I'm going to leave that in the list. Go do your research. Go look at the video. All I have is just this screenshot here, and you could just add the context there and go from wherever you want with this. There was another sketch where a guy was showing off his yo-yo skills. I think I don't really want to remember what he did, but before he ended up doing some really criminal things to a child. Let's just say he stabbed the child and then did something crazy. And we're just gonna leave it at that. And that would be the animation portion of the videos. If you also did your research and are probably in the same webpage as I am right now as I'm speaking about this, you would look at a video that's 4 minutes long called Harmon. I could be wrong, it could be 5 minutes long. And under Harmon, you would have a show that was a live action show pilot, I guess, that was on channel 101. Basically, this is an old website back in the day that was alive, but now taken off, hopefully. And it had Dan Harmon being one of the actors, and it was supposed to be repulsive, and a lot of people hated it. The channel 101 audience didn't like it at all, and it was supposed to be something that Roiland wanted to, you know, blow off some steam. You know, I guess he was drunk when making this, and he wanted to be aggressive with script writing for this pilot. And yeah, that would be the Unbelievable Tales from 2012, one of Justin Roiland's and I guess Dan Harmon's previous creations prior to Rick and Morty. Oh yeah, and I forgot to add in that there was a sketch that Harmon was, you know, acting in. This is the first time I've ever seen Dan Harmon act, by the way. And in the introduction of under the Harmon version of the video, he would be the guy who tried to normalize pedophilia, if that makes sense. And he would do some crazy things to a baby toy. And again, if you could just do your own research, look it up. I'm not even posting links in the description. Look it up if you want to on your own time, because I know you're a smart person and you would, you know, take the time to look at this as an adult and see why channel 101 audience that was once there didn't like any of this crap. And this was the live action portion. This was to talk to the guy who had a problem doing things to a kid. I don't know how else I'm going to explain this, but this was very egregious shit. This was very, very disgusting. I don't know what else to say about this. I know it wasn't supposed to be taken seriously because it's all fake, but I didn't find it funny at all. I didn't even laugh. I just watched it, and yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, and this one's a little bit back into the nicer, I guess, more vanilla, not too crazy of a show that was created by Roiland, and this would be Roiland TV. This was during the Shock era. This is basically a compilation of various deleted, scrubbed shorts from Justin Roiland himself, RoilandTV.com, which is probably dead at this point. And it has files specifically containing some of the most controversial shock humor segments. The Roiland TV brand was basically his early digital home, where he hosted things like House of Cosbys, Two Girls, One Cup, the show, and the Unmarkables. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find House of Cosbys or the Two Girls, One Cup, the show, and I guess I'll probably look into it later on, probably find it. You could probably find it in one of my lost media videos. But for now, in the 2018 reemergence, the specific sketches that were put into this one video, I just I don't know, but for what it is right now, if you looked up Roiland TV, you would you'll find a link to one of Justin Roiland's sketches, and this one is tame compared to what I guess the other titles are, and I haven't found out anything about them yet. But unfortunately, what only came to be was the unmarketables, I guess. And in this video, you would see a family trying to visit an uncle that kind of resembles Rick from Rick and Morty. And this was just raw, and it was considered gross. And yeah, I couldn't really find the dialogue of the show. It kind of felt random when I watched it. But yeah, just look up Roiland TV and you'll have this shown to you. But it was more, vanilla compared to the other two pilots and projects I've shown to you today. And without any further ado, I guess this ends the list of the 3 projects from Justin Roiland. Now again, like I said before, I thought I could find more projects, but I ended up having these. The last one was a little bit off, but I posted the clip, so hopefully you guys understand at least where I'm going with this. I mean, most of the titles were questionable, but I wasn't able to find it. I might do some more digging, but so far these were the projects that Justin Roiland posted online prior to creating Rick and Morty with Dan Harmon. Now, would I judge these guys for what they've done in the past to what they're creating today, which is the end product of Rick and Morty, and I guess the polar opposites as well on Hulu? Well, again, of course they're just comedians. They have dark humor, and some of them are just disgusting to most audiences. But what is truly disgusting is how Justin Roiland ended up keeping his same drunk characteristics. You know what I mean? Like he still has these urges to be abhorrent, like just so unstable, to the point where his true colors eventually was shown into the online scene. So to the point where he ended up being blacklisted from the animation industry, to the point where he couldn't be put on anywhere on television. This was probably the work that Justin Roiland didn't become, well, I guess absent from. He didn't became alienated from these past works. He instead picked up these characteristics where dark humor that makes sense to him. He applied it into real life. He displayed it in real life. And unfortunately, that what ended up being his downfall as a creator. He kept keeping these characteristics and destroying his own career in the long run. He is a very intellectual kind of voice actor. He's like one of the most creative voice actors out there, and he has a way of creating humor, but unfortunately that humor ended up being something that's displeasurable, and I don't know if that's even a word, but yeah, it is deplorable at most. So with that being said, this was Justin Roiland's past, and I hope you enjoyed this video. We were deep diving into all 3 of his projects together, and yeah, this was very, very questionable shit. I'm not gonna lie to you. But did some of them make me laugh? They weren't even funny. They were supposed to be dark humor, but they were not funny at all. And as hard it is to explain Justin Roiland as a good person or a bad person, obviously he's not a good person, but at the end of the day, he did create content that was likable at one point, But unfortunately, he just didn't stop doing that deplorable shit that he did that ended his career. Anyways, that will be it.